I've spent a lot of my life playing MMORPGs, and something that I've noticed about what I do in MMOs is I will spend a lot of time trying to figure out what class or race or combination of which that I want to play. And sometimes when I don't know much about the game, I'll just kind of like pick something that seems cool, and then I'll do that. But especially if I do know a lot about the game, I can spend a long time debating which combination do I actually want to play. And once I finally pick one, I start to play the game and I start to have fun. But there's a voice in the back of my head that goes, I don't know, I think you kind of maybe made the wrong decision. Maybe it would have been more fun if we were playing this race or this class or whatever. And then I'm like, no, we're fine. We're going to enjoy this. But then I start to see other characters in the world, and I'm like, oh, that guy, his class looks so cool. He's got all these cool abilities, or he's like such a high level. I mean, look at his gear. Look at that race class combination. Look at the gear looks on his race. Look at like the impact he has, or his achievement in PvP, or like whatever. The aesthetic, the feel, the power, the whatever. Anything. And I will look at basically every character I see and go, and this voice in my mind will go, there's the evidence that you've made the wrong choice. And so I fight it, and eventually I go, okay, well now I just don't really care what I'm playing anymore. So I guess I will go play that other race or class or whatever that I wanted to play. And I'll start doing that, and then I'll go, actually this is not that fun. And then I will probably either quit or I'll do the whole thing over again. Oh, that guy looks cool, let's do what he's doing. And so I've spent a lot of time in video games basically chasing other people, trying to play in the way that they're playing. And I've noticed that this also is true of real life, and it's grim. I notice, especially in times where I feel uncertain about things, that I will look outwardly to see what other people are saying and doing, and basically forego whatever opinion I have in favor of what they think. I don't think this is an uncommon occurrence. I think a lot of people like to defer to other people for protection against themselves in a weird way. I'll give you an example. I love to make claims that other people have made. The other day, there was a girl in the bookstore. She was interested in this one book, which I had heard was horrible. And so I said to her, oh, you should not read that book. That book is very, very bad. And I listed all these reasons why it's bad. And she was like, oh, okay, I won't, I'll be careful. I don't think I'm going to read it anymore. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it sounds like one that I should avoid. And I felt very smug when I said that, because I felt confident that I was projecting somebody else's opinion through my own mouth. It was not what I believed. I had just adopted it because I had no belief of my own. And also, here's a nice bonus. If the girl had said, actually, I love this book, it's amazing, and screw your opinion, I'm just going to do what I want, I would say, well, actually, that's just what I heard. That's just what I heard. It gives you a nice excuse. And it is a pattern I've noticed where the strongest opinions I have are the ones that are not even my own. And it's because somehow it feels more secure. And let's go back to that point of belief. I find that in my real life, I can look to other people and want to emulate their lives. I, for example, recently read the biography of Tolkien. Super interesting, very well written, highly recommend it. And I was like, I want to live my life like him. I mean, look at all these amazing things he's done, and look at all these, like his interests and all these things. And so I was like, I'm going to just emulate his life. His interests are mine. And that only lasts so long before I go, actually, that's kind of not what I want. Let me find someone else that I can be like. And while I'm doing this whole thing looking out here, and this happens on shorter timescales now. It used to be like for months that I'd want to be like someone else. I'm never actually looking in the center of the circle, which is me, because there's nothing there. And I think that's the key point, is that were I to have belief in myself, or even let's use the video game example, the character I chose was the correct one, the one that I was going to enjoy the most, and the one that I felt the greatest attachment to. If that was true, I would look at all the other people and be able to say, I appreciate what they're doing, but I feel pretty good about myself. But when you have nothing here to fall back on, you then just say, well, maybe they're doing it better. It's in some ways insecurity, but it's deeper than that. It's a lack of substance. When I don't have substance, then I try to find someone else that has it or appears to have it, and I try to emulate their life, whether that's a famous writer or a famous person in anything, right? Usually it is someone that is very good at what they do or is renowned or something like that. And I think that this is an endemic, or an epidemic, I don't know, whatever word, to our culture, is that we, in my own personal experience, I'll speak for myself, in that I was berated for having my own opinions. And then in my education taught to have the opinion of the teacher, have the correct opinion, if you will. And in both cases, it made me just have nothing here. It's just like hollow. Like it's doubt, or it's like just nothing. And I think that you can reclaim that. I want to make that clear. I think that by doing introspective work, by listening to your intuition, by trying new things and seeing what do I genuinely like and not like, irrespective of other people, you can determine who you actually are, because that is what it's about. Because when you have nothing here, then you're just going to try to be something out there. And that is never going to be fulfilling. Never. You could live the life of someone one for one who has it all, so to speak, and you would feel horrible. I mean, you might not actually notice it, but in your soul, it would be crying out for substance. It would be crying out for itself. It would be crying out for the fact that it says, I don't know where I am. This is not me. What is happening here is all a facade. It's all a masquerade. And I think that we do this in the ego because we can't sit with the fact that we don't know, and we don't have the substance. We don't have that solidity within ourselves because we weren't taught how. And so I think it is unfortunately natural in our society to want to be like other people. And you might say social media makes this worse, but I would say that social media is actually just the epitome of what had already existed. It just makes it much more accessible to look at someone else's life and say, I wish I had that. I wish I was beautiful like them. I wish I was smart like them. I wish I'd accomplished this like them, or this, that, and the other thing like them. But what about like me? I think the greatest compliment I've ever received is that that's so like you. And when I talk to my friends, that's the thing that I think is also the greatest compliment I can give them. If you've seen the movie Good Will Hunting, there's the scene where Robin Williams is talking about his wife and how she like farts in her sleep, and he thinks that it's like the funniest and most absurd thing ever, but it's also the most endearing thing. And it was, if I recall correctly, it was totally, it was just complete improv. But that scene stuck with me because he's absolutely right. It is these like little absurdities in our character that give us our humanity. It's not the fact that you've been able to climb Mount Everest that makes you a human. It's not the fact that you know, any great accomplishment, it's totally insubstantial to what being a human is. Being human is about the fact that it's like my favorite food. I'll give you an example. My best friend, she was telling me about how when she was in America, one of her favorite things was like Rice Krispie treats. And I was like, are you actually kidding me? Like, what? To me, that was so silly. Like, out of everything, that's what you miss, being back in your home country. But in that moment, I felt immense love for her because that was her authentic self. It was silly, it was absurd, it was totally inconsequential, but it was her. And so when I see that substance, that is what we all need to cultivate within ourselves. is being able to feel vulnerable enough to have idiosyncrasies. I think I'm saying that word wrong. We need to be vulnerable enough to just be authentic. And that means silly, and that means weird, and that means unusual. But if we could just actually realize that these are the best parts of ourselves and not condemn them, I think literally everyone would be happier and have more substance, and not look at other people and say, wow, I wish I was them, but say, I'm glad that I'm me. I desire to be myself because I have substance. So I don't quite know how we get there as a society, but as an individual, I do think that taking the time to understand yourself and to recognize the fact that maybe you are living as someone that you are not. And people can say that frequently. I've heard it been said a lot, but I think that, again, it's this deeper thing. It's like who you are is in there. It's not like it's just missing. It's in there. It's just been covered up and hidden. And it's your job to discover it. And it's your job to own it. And I speak to myself as much as I'm speaking to the audience, is that it's our duty to ourselves to stop saying, I wish I was someone else, but rather I wish I was myself, and to cultivate that substance within us. So that's all I've got.